It is Silver here, and today I'm going to be talking about villain archetypes. Now, I wanted to talk about villains in one video, but then I started shooting and I was like, oh my gosh, villains are way too, I like talking about them way too much, and I am probably going to have a whole series on villains on YouTube. The reason I like villains is because the sky is the limit. You can do whatever you want, and you can be as crazy as you want with them because villains are crazy people. Okay, well, not all of them. Not all of them are crazy. Some of them are just misunderstood, right? So in this particular video, I'm going to be talking about villain archetypes, common villain archetypes, and in hopes that this might help you out as a writer, as a reader, in understanding these very, very troubled characters in fiction. Now, the first archetype I want to speak of is the hero being their own worst enemy archetype of a conflict, because a villain really is the conflict to your story. They are basically the reason why your character is struggling to survive, struggling for their life, struggling to get the girl, struggling to get the guy, whatever they're trying to do. That villain is keeping them from their goal. And they can be their own worst enemy. Your hero can be struggling with a drug addiction. Your hero can be struggling with a mental health problem, that they have just their inner demons, their issues. Like PTSD or depression. They're just going through a really tough time, and that is their worst enemy, is just struggling through that. And the struggle is real, and that is a real life struggle that we can go through, so we can even relate to our character who is going through that struggle and understand and have compassion and empathy on them for that. The next villain archetype is absolutely my favorite villain, the dark triad villain. And if you don't know what a dark triad is, the dark triad in psychology is psychopathy, Machiavellianism, and narcissism. So basically we're dealing with serial killers, sadistic, messed up people who they just want to see the world burn. They don't care about anyone. They're very power hungry, they're very much about control, they're very much about manipulation, and they will be absolutely ruthless to get whatever they want. And then once they have whatever they want, they're never happy anyway. So they are very, very miserable people. It is very tragic and sad, and I will talk about them a little bit more in depth in another video, because I think that this villain, when done correctly, is it's one of those things that if you don't do it correctly, if you don't understand what a narcissist, a sociopath, or a psychopath is and how they work, you're not going to correctly portray them in your fiction. So I will do a whole video on that because I love psychology and I'm all about studying up on that sort of thing. So I will talk about that later. The next villain I want to talk about is the vengeful villain. So maybe your character, their father was killed by your villain's character's father. Or, well, never mind. Your father killed their father. And so this character is out for revenge on you. Now suddenly you're the character. Yes, this character wants revenge. They want to get you for what your father did to their father. And it has nothing maybe to do with you. Or maybe it does. Maybe it's like the Incredibles. That's the vengeful villain character. He obviously had other issues, possibly in the Dark Triad as well in that movie. But anyway, I'm just going to go on. The next villain that is a very popular villain is the zealot. I like to call them the zealot, the religious zealot, the cult leader, whatever they are. They have an agenda. They want to see the world be a better place, but they want it to be done their way. And their way might not be so functional. Their way might be very not inclusive. I mean, if you got this villain who just believes that all the unicorns are basically evil and they should be eliminated, well, I mean, it sucks if your character's a unicorn and they just want to live, right? So what I mean to say is the religious zealot villain, you've probably seen it happen in different movies and books. And when done successfully, they are a very interesting, complex villain to create. And again, I will do videos on each of these villains separately so that you can learn more about how to create a better religious zealot villain, a better dark triad villain, a better hero who is at war with themselves villain. Then there's the reverse character development villain, which is someone who is morally decaying throughout the story. So that would be Breaking Bad Walter White. That would be Daniel Day-Lewis's character in There Will Be Blood, in case you've watched that. It would be the character starts out where you're just like, yeah, they're just trying to make their way in the world. They're just trying to, they've got cancer. They got to take care of their family, make sure their family's financially secure. And then slowly but surely they become like a psychopathic, drug lord. Yeah, it's pretty messed up. So if you've ever watched that, sorry, spoiler, although I'm sure it's common knowledge. Anyway, what I want to say is villains are some of the most interesting characters to create. And if you don't do them successfly, your story is going to have issues. Like if your villain doesn't really make sense, or they just are kind of like blah, your story is going to be blah, because the opposition really sets the tone. And I want to help you create characters that other people can really hate. So stay tuned in my next videos. Please like, please subscribe, and I'll see you later.